To the National Football League, a day after Aaron Rodgers missed the start of Jets' mandatory minicamp, his absence remained a hot topic. On Tuesday, the team described Rodgers' actions as unexcused. Wednesday, Robert Saleh downplayed the absence.
Aaron and I are on the exact same page. There's no issue between Aaron or his teammates, for that matter. So, like I said, we addressed it yesterday. It's more of an issue for everyone outside the building than it is inside, and that's about it.
Good guy, that Mike Garafolo.
You know, it's a big story when we bring in our NFL Network guy, Mike Garafolo, during the Stanley Cup final. Mike, it's so great to see you. Let's talk about this Aaron Rodgers thing. Now it's being reported that he's going to miss the entire week. Mike, how did it get to this point?
Aaron Rodgers told the Jets a while back that he had something that he wanted to attend during minicamp, and he was going to attend it. He was going to miss minicamp. And Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, although a lot of people had their jokes last year about Aaron Rodgers coming in, and because Saleh's not yet an accomplished coach in the way that, let's say, Mike McCarthy was with the Packers, or even if you did Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. So a lot of folks say, well, Aaron Rodgers is really the head coach of the team. He's running the show. Well, no, Robert Saleh is making it clear that he is the head coach of the team, and this is the way that he wants to handle things. There are certain events that happen in players' lives that are excusable, right? The birth of a child, a funeral, something like that. Those would be excused absences. We see them happen all the time, whether it's minicamp, training camp, during the season. Obviously, this is not one of those cases, and the Jets felt that way. So in their minds, letting it be known that it was an unexcused absence, well, they had Haason Reddick, who was missing minicamp because he's basically holding out because he wants a new contract. And yet Aaron Rodgers, who, it's not a contractual thing, but wanted to attend an event. And Robert Saleh said, I have to keep these and treat these as equals. And so that's how we got to this point. Rodgers will be fined for this, just as Reddick will be fined for skipping it because of his contract situation. But I don't sense that it's that big of a deal. I'm actually with Robert Saleh on this one when he says it's more of a deal outside the building than it is inside the building.
Okay, so having said that, are you surprised, Mike, that Saleh and the Jets didn't just cover up for Rodgers rather than call it an unexcused absence and create this media frenzy? Why not just cover up for Rodgers and say, yeah, it was an excused absence?
Well, first of all, it's harder to cover. The media has to be there, right? Mandatory minicamp, players have to be there. The media, they have to let the media in for this. So they were going to see it anyway. It's not like during OTAs when sometimes players aren't there, and if it's not one of the media sessions, you don't know whether the player is there or not. This is one where the media was going to see it. So they had to address it. They had to let the media know why he wasn't there, didn't want to create a firestorm of speculation during practice. So that's why they basically came out and said it. Now, I've seen some folks say, well, they should have said this sooner. They should have mentioned it sooner, as soon as they knew. Like, let's say Rodgers told them 3 weeks ago. They should have told the media immediately. Here's the problem with that, and I work here and I live here in the New York market. It would have been a story that day, and then it would have been the story during minicamp as well. So the Jets actually shrunk the time in which this was a story by waiting until the day of minicamp to let everyone know. But look, Robert Saleh, he wants to run his program the way that he wants to run his program. I give him the credit for that. He said unexcused, and I think in a lot of folks' minds, they immediately went to, well, he's upset, the organization is upset. But frankly, the way they look at it is these practices are just like the OTAs that they've been running, and he's been around for those. So they would much rather have him be there for all of OTAs and then miss 2 practices of minicamp, as opposed to vice versa, miss the entire spring and then just come back for the 2 mandatory practices.
That's fair. And plus, I appreciate that the Jets waited so that the New York Daily News could come out with amazing headlines like this one. I mean, call him Aaron Dodgers. That's the Daily News. You got the Post full of hot air. This is all brilliant stuff from the New York tabloids. And they actually reminded everyone, Mike, of this quote from Aaron Rodgers back in January.
When you step in the building, there's intentionality with everything that you do. And it's not a half the time thing. It's not a sometimes thing. It's not a most of the time thing. It's an every time thing. If you want to be a winning organization, you have to put yourself in position to win championships and be competitive. Everything that you do matters. And the bull that has nothing to do with winning needs to get out of the building.
Hey, we know Aaron Rodgers is an aspiring politician. He wants to run for vice president. How do you think he reacts to all of this, Mike, when he finally does get in front of the media?
I'm done guessing what Aaron Rodgers is going to think and going to say. So I don't know. I'm curious. I would like to see his reaction. I'm going to guess that he is going to say similar things to what Robert Saleh has been saying, what the Jets have been saying behind closed doors, which is that this is being blown out of proportion and it's not a big deal for them. Will he be upset about being put on blast, basically? I mean, I hate to even put it that way, but the way that Robert Saleh called it an unexcused absence, that's the part that I'm curious about. But I know that that quote has been tied to this one, and I go back to that, and I remember the context of that quote and why Rodgers was speaking about the subject that day. That was about those leaks that were coming out about how things went with Zach Wilson last year and just the way things spiraled downward for the Jets. That's really what he was talking about there. So if you asked him, well, you said this back in January, he's going to tell you that was a completely different subject that has nothing to do with this. He lives what he believes is a balanced life and obviously felt like he needed to attend to the human side of things versus the football side of things. So I have no doubt in my mind that when he speaks, he's going to have no regrets about his decision. The only part that I'm curious about is, will he have any issue with the things that Salah said or how it was handled by the Jets on their end? Because if there's no issue there, I truly believe there's no issue, period. The only way I think this is an issue is if Aaron Rodgers takes issue with anything.
And NFL training camps beginning mid to late July, so we might have to wait until then to get this issue truly resolved, or at least to hear from Aaron Rodgers. Or maybe, Mike, he'll appear, right? Maybe Pat McAfee, our guy.
I know where you're going. A lot of McAfee shows between now and the start of training camp to fill.
And you can see Pat McAfee right here on TSN.
There you go.
Mike Garafolo, you're the best. Thanks for this.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you.